Hi, welcome to my channel, Compass Starlight. Today I want to talk about frequency, vibration, raising your frequency, and the setbacks we can find there. So, all of us at some point in our lives experience something that has us dwelling in our minds on the experience. It could be some kind of betrayal, it could be a relationship that didn't work out. It could be some kind of traumatic experience. It could be assault. For example, land that we till, it's like the earth is settled in a way. And when you dig it up and you sort of stir it up, we do this in order to plant things. Like you would take sort of a chunk, a divot out of the earth in order to plant a bulb, for example. But nonetheless, when you dig things up on the earth, even when you go and you put earth back into the hole that you've dug up, it's still going to be uneven. Even if on the top surface, the top layer, it looks like it's even, underneath that earth still hasn't settled below that even surface. And in a way, that's an analogy of what I'm seeing with this pain, right? Because it's going to take a lot of rain, it's going to take a lot of storms for the water to seep through and compact that earth that was dug up in the hole, for it to settle in and be the same density as that which surrounds it. It's going to take a while. That's my picture of healing. For what it's worth. Why have a descriptive imagery? I don't know. We go through these experiences, and in life then we have just time that's needed to reflect on whatever the experience is. The role we played in it, in that experience. The role someone else played, or if it's multiple people, played in that experience. Whether it's an experience of betrayal or some kind of trespass that makes us feel vulnerable. When it comes to heartbreak, there's a long time to heal. And eventually we get over things. But oftentimes when we have these types of experiences, we sort of dwell in this place, or from a place of hurt and pain. And yes, we may still go to work every day and proceed with activities of daily life. But there's that pain, and it kind of weighs down our vibration. And it takes a long time in healing work in order to heal oneself enough to let go of the experience. Doesn't mean forget it, but to let go of the experience so that it's not something that's constantly on our mind, so that the experience isn't always being played and repeat on the mind. And that's it's sort of an unfortunate part of being human, is that we have a tendency to ruminate on negative experiences, but the rumination really weighs on our own vibration. And so I'm noticing, however, that when you've done the work to heal and let go of these types of heavier experiences that weigh us down and sort of put weight on the frequency we're running, as we've lifted ourselves, lifted our frequency. When one runs into, communicates with, or otherwise encounters a person or a situation which gives negative feedback, and that interaction causes a new experience to dwell upon, to run in a loop. I mean, you have the opportunity then to just stop that loop and think about something different. But whatever new experience you might recognize, you've interacted with somebody who is kind of negative in your life. And you may even consider the fact that maybe you don't want this person in your life. This, you recognize that time after time in exchange, it's sort of a negative feedback. And then you start recognizing the pattern. And at that point, it's your choice to say, I don't want this in my life. But what I find really interesting is that when there is the recognition of the negative pattern, the negative feedback, or just like, even if it's not it doesn't become a pattern, but the first time you recognize that a potential friend or acquaintance is giving you a negative feedback, something that's lowering your vibration, it's like as soon as that experience occurs, bam, all of a sudden these thoughts and emotions associated with past experiences over which you have already healed start coming back into the thought process, into the thought loop, and the rumination on those things begins again. So what I'm saying is, for example, if you have an ex who did you wrong and there was a breakup and it took you, like, I don't know, let's say you dated for a year and it took like 6 months, whatever, to really process what happened that contributed to the end of that relationship, how you felt about the whole situation that caused the ending of that relationship, your contribution to that relationship, and the other person's contribution to the ending of that relationship. And you, this whole time, this 6 months or 2 years, however long it is that you spend doing the healing work, you finally let it go. You finally stop thinking about that person in your thought process. They stop running the loops in your mind, coming up all the time in thought. Like, you could be watching a TV program and all of a sudden something comes on and like it reminds you of your ex, right? I'm saying, like, those things stop being as present in your life. Those reminders become fewer and fewer, and eventually, you really let go, and that's a good thing. But when you then encounter somebody else who all of a sudden brings in some negativity into your life, and by that I just mean they give you feedback that makes you feel like your frequency has been lowered. They drain your energy. All of a sudden, it's like the door's cracked and it's opening just a little bit, and maybe then the thoughts of your ex start cycling back into mind, into your conscious awareness. That's really what I'm getting at. Or if it's like an assault situation, reminders of that assault situation start creeping back into your conscious awareness. It's something I'm recognizing. And so if you experience that at all, if you recognize that you have acquaintances with whom you interact in some capacity, be it in person, at work, school, in any institution, or online, any way that you encounter an individual that sort of gives you a negative vibe, that seems to constantly misunderstand you or argue with you, almost as if to prove a point. They have a misunderstanding of you. You don't need to explain yourself because you know who you are. Or they think that your response to something or the way that you're handling something at work is wrong, but what you're doing is in the parameters of the scope of work. You're doing your job, and that shouldn't be an issue. And so where this person takes issue is meant to keep you quiet. It's meant to keep you stifled, keep you oppressed, keep you down. And it may be something that's subconscious to the individual. But when you notice somebody in your life behaving in this manner and reflecting that back to you, it is your opportunity to nip it in the bud and remove interaction with that person as much as possible. Because if you don't remove that person from your circle, you're basically your circle of consciousness, or if it's somebody that you have to see on a daily basis for work, perhaps the approach is to confront the issue head on, because you don't want to have this replicating negativity in your life. And the reason you don't want to have that negativity in your life is because it will bring your frequency down, which opens the door to having all your past negative experiences come back in some way, even if just as reminders, flooding your consciousness in a perpetuation of lowering your frequency, bringing you down, and in some way being oppressive. I hope that makes sense. So the message today, I am going to do some cards, but I'm probably going to do a separate video for that for today. But the message today here in this video is to be very conscious about what you are allowing into your life, into your interactions and your sphere of consciousness, because as it is a reflection point or a projection of you and your thoughts and your mind, it can sort of open the door to the negativity of past experiences to replant themselves in your brain, in your mind, in your thought process, and again run in your conscious awareness. And if it's something that you've let go and you've spent a lot of time working and healing in order to let that go, well, then it's sort of counterintuitive to allow it back in, isn't it? So be very conscious about who and what you allow into your conscious awareness, and how can you prevent something or someone from sticking around there in that place in your conscious awareness. You have to think about something else. You have to consciously think about something else. And sometimes getting your hands involved, going to work on a task, getting yourself involved in a task can really change your train of thought, where your mind is focused, and that's really important. You want to refocus your mind. Yeah, think about doing something with your hands, a process. Like if you have something that has a few screws, you can unscrew and take it apart and put it back together. Either thinking about the process or physically going through the process can really refocus your mind. If you have a bicycle, taking off the chain, greasing it up, and then getting the chain back on the gears. Simple things like that, where it's a process. Those kinds of tasks can refocus your mind and get you thinking about other things. That's the message for today. Thank you for coming to my channel, Compass Starlight.